Welcome to one of many installments of my thoughts and musings on the Nikon ZR. It's a strange little camera, for sure. Not in a bad way, definitely, but in a way that's kind of hard to overlook. It's quite bold, it's intriguing, and occasionally it's brilliant. But also it's very clearly a little bit unfinished. It has charm, it has friction, and most of all, it really has a lot of potential. Now that I've had the chance to spend some real time with it and gotten over that initial excitement, I can move beyond the comparisons and create something that's going to be a bit less review-like and more of a reflection and a wish list. A set of observations and requests based on my usage so far about what I think could really elevate the ZR from interesting and slightly eccentric to something genuinely dependable. Because as much as I like character, what I'm really after is confidence. Confidence in the tool, confidence that the camera will behave the way I need it to, and right now, the ZR only gets me halfway there. So let's talk about what it does well, what it needs help with, and what I sincerely hope Nikon is already working on behind the scenes. I've used a lot of cameras over the past few years, Reds, Sonys, the occasional Blackmagic, and for the most part you start to develop a sense of what's intentional in a design and what's a little bit accidental. The ZR blurs that line a bit. There's this feeling that some of its quirks are baked in personality, while others are the results of things being a little bit rushed, or just not fully thought through to the same level and polish as, say, Sony's UX, across its video-first mirrorless line at least. That's not that Nikon can't do it, that's just maybe they haven't got around to it yet. Which brings me to the meat of this video. Here's what I think the ZR needs, at a minimum, to really shine. All of these are things that I believe could be implemented via firmware. None of them require a hardware redesign, just a bit of intention. This is straight from the Sony playbook, but for good reason. On my old A7 III, I think, I could punch in from full frame to APS-C with the press of a button and still stay in 4K. That little trick? It's saved many a shoot, and it turns one lens into two, so if you're traveling light, it's invaluable. It gives you an extra bit of reach without needing to crop in post or swap lenses. The ZR has a high enough resolution sensor and support for multiple crop modes, but right now there's no way to instantly toggle between FX and DX with a single press. Even worse, you're limited in which buttons can be reassigned, and the I menu doesn't allow access to all features either. This one's pretty low-hanging fruit for Nikon, and it would make a real difference to usability. And while we're on the subject of buttons, let me say this clearly. If a camera gives me function buttons, please let me decide what they do. The ZR currently restricts which functions can be mapped to which buttons. Some can't be customized at all, others have an oddly narrow range of assignable functions. Even the I menu, which should be your rapid access hub, is a little bit hamstrung. You can't, for example, add the Apply LUT toggle to it. Why? No idea. This rigidity feels quite arbitrary, and it slows down workflows. The screen on the ZR is gorgeous, genuinely. One of the best I've used on a mirrorless body, and it actually reminds me a little bit of Blackmagic's products. But what's the point of a brilliant screen if the exposure tools don't let you trust what you're seeing? There's a histogram, there are zebras, there's even a waveform, which is appreciated, but there's no false colour, and nothing even close to being equivalent to Red's brilliant traffic light indicators for highlights and shadows. When you're shooting RAW, especially in fast-moving environments, you need fast, glanceable feedback. Traffic light clipping is my go-to on the Komodo X, because it's almost impossible to misread. I'd really love to see Nikon develop something similar. Failing that, false colour would be a huge step forward. If you're interested in more behind-the-scenes bits that likely don't end up in these videos, things like setups, lifeboat drills, lens tests, I post those over on my Instagram, which is @JackFilmed. One of the ZR's big marketing points was its use of Nokia's Ozo audio, a spatial microphone setup that captures directional sound in camera. It's clever tech, but you only get to use it some of the time. When recording in R3D NE, for instance, you can't control the mic directionality. It defaults to a fixed pickup pattern, and there's no way to adjust that. If you're shooting in RAW, odds are you'll also be recording separate sound, but even so, there's value in good scratch audio, especially when you're trying to stay light. Limiting features like this doesn't make the camera feel streamlined, it makes it feel arbitrarily handicapped. On the Komodo X, I'm able to choose between LQ, MQ, ELQ, all variants of Red's compressed RAW. The ZR so far only offers R3D NE at one compression level, which is manageable, but again, it's not ideal. Some days you do want the highest quality, but most days I want the most shooting time on a single card. Being able to pick would be excellent. Yes, higher compression might bring thermal trade-offs. That's fine, just warn me, but let me decide what trade-off to make. Another of Red's quietly brilliant features is the ability to hide the options you never use. Don't shoot in 30p or 60p, remove them from the frame rate list. Don't need certain codecs, hide them. It's a simple bit of UI logic that drastically speeds up operation. The ZR's menus, by contrast, are a bit of a sprawl. Everything's there, which is good, but there's no way to declutter the view. That level of menu customization would be a small fix that would improve daily usability more than most spec upgrades. This one's a little bit more subjective, but there's been a noticeable amount of discussion online about the H.265 codec looking soft. I've seen it, and it's not terrible. For YouTube or quick turnaround work, it's probably not really an issue at all, but side by side with ProRes or R2D, there's a softness that feels more than just lens or focus. It might just be an artifact of how the in-camera noise reduction is applied, and it could just be something to do with the fact that it's a reasonably early firmware. Either way, it's worth acknowledging, and if it is possible to improve, I think that would be worthwhile doing. Remote monitoring and control are now table stakes for video-first cameras. Sony has monitor and control. Red, which Nikon owns, has red control. Nikon has SnapBridge. A SnapBridge just isn't built for this. There's no proper live feed, no way to adjust exposure or white balance. It doesn't support a LUT preview, it doesn't feel like a video tool, it feels like a leftover from a completely different product line. If Nikon is serious about video-first bodies, a proper companion app needs to exist. My wish listing makes me sound very critical of the camera, but I don't want to occlude the fact that I really like the ZR. It's just that it's got the potential to be an awful lot better. And that's, in a way, a compliment. You don't wish for improvements on something you don't care about. You wish for improvements on something that feels almost there, something with a lot of potential. For Nikon, this is a first attempt at a true video-first hybrid. And for a first attempt, it's really promising. But quirks, whether charming or frustrating, only go so far. There's a version of the ZR that I think could be brilliant. Same body, same screen, same codec support, just smoothed out a little bit. Simplified, given a little bit more intention in its controls and a little more generosity in its options. The price is aggressive, and the hardware is there. What's missing is the finesse, and hopefully firmware is how we get there. Thank you for watching yet another ZR-centric video. If you've got wishlist items of your own, let me know in the comments. Hopefully some of the things I've talked about in this episode have helped round out your research on the camera, or maybe it sparked a thought. But whatever it is, if you give this a like or a share, that would be fantastic. I'm Jack, this is Western Approaches. See you next time. Thank you for watching.